of the things that can be really helpful for new professors and for old professors alike is learning how to grade faster. And I've always admired a lot of the things that Bia does in terms of grading very quickly, being able to crank through work. And so she's going to talk a little bit about rubric creation first.
Yes, one of the things that I've learned over the years is to have some consistency with what I'm grading, and then I can grade faster. So probably 7, 8 years ago, I started creating rubrics for all of my assignments. And all I did is I just kept track of what I kept writing down over and over again.
And you did write it
and
over
I wrote
and
it
over
right.
the same thing.
Exactly. So what I did is I just took that and formatted it into a rubric. Sometimes I would go online and I would search to see if anyone else had posted a rubric, and I would borrow ideas from them. And then in the end, I would create a rubric from that. And I found students respond to it. In fact, they asked me, is there a rubric for this assignment? And I would provide the rubric. And I really enjoyed doing that. I revise it probably every year or so. And again, I just keep track of my comments because I'll always encounter something new and I will add that. But I can get through it very quickly because the format is already there for me.
Well, and all of her comments are there. So, I was actually really quite impressed when I looked at one for grading small group discussions because she had everything. Every comment I could think of that I would typically write on a piece of paper or on a grade sheet of some kind, she already had pre-typed, and you just go through with the highlighter.
Yep, I just highlight it, and then that way what I like about that is I'm consistent with each student. And they get the feedback and they know what to expect, what exceeds expectations. So that really streamlines the process for me.
One of the things that I started doing to cut down on my grade time is I was an editor. And so every time I would get a long project in, and most of the projects I grade are 6, 8, 10 pages long.
Papers,
right. And so I'm editing. I'm putting in a comma everywhere that there should be a comma. I'm talking about awkwardness and so on. And what I realized was I don't have to edit the whole paper. Mm-hmm. So students who have writing errors, they're all on the first page. They're always the same throughout the paper. If you don't know that you need a comma before a compound sentence, to split a compound sentence, then you always make that mistake. Right. So what I do is I only correct the first page. And then I draw a line and say, I've stopped correcting here. You need to fix your writing errors. And then I read for content. And that really streamlines a lot the paper grading process. So if you're a historian, if you're, an English professor, whatever, that might save you quite a bit of time to just identify those errors and then read for content afterwards.
Right. It takes a lot of pressure off of trying to correct everything. And also it goes back to something that we discussed before is you're bleeding all over the paper.
Right.
And then it's all a student gets it back and there's just so much stuff there. It just stops at page 1.
Right. Absolutely.
One thing that I am guilty of with grading too, or I used to be guilty of, is I would dwell. And I would, because I grade speeches, and the problem with speeches is I heard it a day or 2 days prior to that, is I would overthink it and think maybe I missed something, maybe there was a problem. And here's the thing, after 20 years of teaching public speaking, I find that students really, they just look at the big picture. So that little 1 or 2 points, I don't even worry about anymore. I just go ahead and they get what they get. And I'm pretty consistent with it because I use the rubrics.
Right, and those rubrics help a lot. But yeah, especially for beginning teachers, if you're sitting there stressing yourself over, should this be an 87 or an 88?
Right.
Making some, clear-cut distinctions in your mind. I don't ever grade at an 88 or an 89. People either get the B+, which is an 87, they get the B+, A-, which is a 90, or the A-, which is a 93, and of course the same with the Ds and so on. Not that everybody's getting that high grade.
Yeah.
But not really just overthinking it and dwelling on it and worrying about it is important as well. And that takes a little bit of time and experience to get over, but the sooner you can get past that, the more quickly you'll be able to grade.
Yeah, because it's 1,000. Like in my class, it's 1,000 points.
Right.
That 2 points is not really going to make a big difference.
In the
So,
scheme of
yes, in the big
things.
scheme of things, it's not something that will be a grade destroyer.
So those are some things that you can think about as you're trying to speed up your grade time is only correct that first page in terms of their grammar and writing and so on.
Use a rubric to speed the process if you grade the same types of things over and over again.
Yeah, and don't overthink it. Get it done and get on with your life.
Definitely.